on in the mic.
No, you're good. I can hear you and you can hear me, yeah?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Welcome back.
Hello.
I haven't talked to you in a long time.
I know. I think it was 2 years to the day that we first spoke.
Yeah, you were in Miami and your attitude was very much, don't really know how this is going to go.
Yeah,
Let's just see what happens. It's crazy. Where are you now? Are you in
I'm in.
Oregon or whatever?
No, I'm actually in London.
Oh,
Yeah, sorry, not as exotic.
yeah, that's a bit. It's a bit
But
all
I'm
right.
going to Oregon on Wednesday, and then I'm going to Miami on Friday.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
What? There's your thumbs up. Look. What's it like going back now and having? Because like, say, I was thinking about it earlier on. So like, year one, you went there, and I remember you were like, not nervous. I'm sure you were nervous, but you didn't appear nervous. But you appeared kind of like you were kind of jumping off a cliff a bit, and it was like,
Yeah.
let's see what happens. And you were like, oh, I don't know how it's gonna go, and blah blah. Obviously hoping for the best. And then year two, you go back, and you've got like Daniel Brandon Day, you've got like queues out the fucking gate, like it's all nuts. What's it like going back again, going back to Miami again?
I think I very rarely allow myself any kind of I suppose reflecting time, just because the calendar's so full, and then family and work and everything like that. And I feel like this time of year, because you've just had that holiday break,
Yeah.
and not everyone is up to like 100 miles an hour in the first few weeks of January, it's a moment where I'm allowing myself this, I guess, opportunity to reflect on the past 2 years. And I feel, more than anything, I just feel incredibly excited by going back there. It kind of like is the start of the season from a CrossFit perspective in many ways. And I think there's this kind of quiet buzz around the community, and Wodapalooza is like that kickoff point for everyone to kind of rally around and celebrate fitness for the year. So it just feels kind of deeply exciting to me. And I think to the point of year one, sorry, my email is it coming through on the show?
Yeah, you're just so popular.
No, it's just like I probably owe people money.
Join now for hot chats.
Yeah. I think in the first year, because I'm very happy I didn't come across as terrified. I really
sorry, just not to interrupt, but this, like, gonna need subtitles. This is like watching Peaky Blinders. If you think that Ben has a Birmingham accent, you need to just educate yourself a tiny bit further.
So shall I enunciate more?
I think you're doing just fine.
Thanks. I think I think it's now I feel able to enjoy it, I suppose.
Yeah.
Which I think is a big step in a positive way.
Were you like, what was your emotions, say, going back? Because obviously you had big plans last year. Like, you knew what you were doing. That's one thing, actually. You're very like teasy and like secretive, and like you don't actually say anything of what's going on, and then it just like all this shit happens all at once. Hang on, I'm just gonna change the background.
Oh, well, where are we going? Are we going to? We're in Miami, aren't we? For this background, I like this background.
I know, yeah, but look, we can't have it all their own way.
Oh, there we go.
There, that's better.
Oh.
What was your emotions like going back last year when you knew? Because I'm assuming that there's more pressure for that when it's like,
Yeah. Did we say what we were doing last year?
No, there was like little like, oh, we're gonna do. There was like a flower tease, and then there was like small little teases, and there was never any actual like, this is what's going to happen. But then it goes massive then when it happens. So like, is there this kind of anticipatory feeling of like,
Yeah,
you know what's happening, and like, you know, Ryan or whoever else, everyone knows what's happening, but then it turns into like there's this kind of fever pitch reached, and then it
yeah,
just kicks into gear.
yeah. I think there's there's always a plan. I think it's partly a bit of a defense mechanism because we're always like right on the edge of something maybe not coming to fruition. And
Yeah,
so if we write everything down and put it all out, and then for whatever reason, something awful happens. Like I remember last year, I felt so sorry for them, but the poor Innovate guys, like all their stock got stuck somewhere and it arrived on like the Monday after Wazza.
yeah.
Like something awful like that would to happen, then it would just be absolutely devastating. But generally, one of the things that I find, and I hope everyone else finds quite fun, is not really knowing what's going on and there being an air of theatre and surprise around what we're doing, because it makes it more interesting. And I think, these days, no one has to really wait for anything. Like people have lost their patience. You expect everything now, immediately, as fast as possible, and to kind of be a little bit secretive and tease things and bring people on this little journey is, I think, fun, and that's why kind of people engage with it and like interacting with us.
Did you, so like, when you were setting up your little vision board of R.A.D or whatever at the start, was the um was the intention to make it like a cool brand? Because it's a hard thing to do, it's a hard thing to say that you're going to do, it's a hard thing to get right, it's an easy thing to fuck up, and to be like, oh, we want to be really cool, you instantly sound not cool when you say something like that. So like, how do you go about making a brand cool without saying, guys, we need to make it really cool?
I think I think when you look at someone who has an air of cool, and this is, but I'm not saying me by any stretch of the imagination, but when one sees someone in the street, there is something about the way in which they carry themselves, which is incredibly authentic and never feels particularly forced. And that combination of those two things is, I think, ultimately what manifests itself in being cool.
Yeah,
And I think very quickly, if you try and force something and it's not quite working, that's when you instantly go into oblivion because people just see straight through it. So it's about, I guess, in everything that we do, we're really considered, and we take the time to, I guess, really hone in on what we're trying to say to our audience. But then it's about giving enough in whatever we're doing, but not too much that it just becomes overbearing. Because I think that's
yeah.
the thing, isn't it? There's a subtlety to it, a bit of a
It
nuance.
is part of the um and I know from like reading your posts on LinkedIn and stuff that a lot of this like wasn't necessarily intentional, but more like hands tied sort of thing. But like the supply and demand thing of like, we will not have enough shoes to have a big stock on our website constantly or whatever, and then that drives this kind of fevered like, shit, I need to buy, like I've fallen for it. Where it's like, shit, I need to be like on, like ready to pounce, like waiting or whatever. Is that, do you think that added to it? Do you think that helped you in some way where like it
Yeah.
created a kind of that like limited run kind of thing?
Yeah, because then I think people are always looking for some exclusivity, and something that someone else hasn't got always has a higher value.
Yeah.
And so I think that definitely helped us. It also got people incredibly angry, which there was a period of time where I had to get off Instagram because I was in the DMs of R.A.D calling everyone a see you next Tuesday, which wasn't going down particularly well amongst uh, our friends in the US, because that is a really bad word in the US.
Yeah. It
Hmm.
doesn't. It doesn't. It tends not to land well.
No, it doesn't. But the Aussies love it.
Yeah. It's like it's our like. We say like they just
Yeah,
they just bandy it around like there's no
yeah,
tomorrow. Yeah.
yeah. Just
Um.
fudge.
What was it then that made you go for um Danielle and Laura? Was it that kind of because they're similar in a lot of ways, but they're incredibly different in a lot of ways as well.
Yeah, they again. There's something about those two as athletes that you can't really define, but there's an aura around them that draws people to them. And I think they're both very different, as you say. And Laura, I think she probably won't like me saying this, but there's a shyness to Laura, which then that comes across in a way that kind of has this air of mystery around her. And that's why I think people are really fascinated by her.
Mm.
I also think because she has a relentless obsession with winning and being the best, that is also something that people are fascinated by. Because to have that drive and that level of focus is very rarely seen. And so I think that's why people really gravitate towards Laura. And then I think Danielle, she has this same sort of infatuation with winning, but also the way in which she carries herself and the way in which she has these other interests outside of the sport, whether it's fashion or makeup or beauty. I think kind of she shows her, I guess, like her real life, and you get to see Danielle as like a normal person, and she has interests like anyone else does. And I think there's that level of connection through to Danielle that again people are really kind of they really engage with. So
Mm.
as you said, they're both very different, but I think for different reasons, people really enjoy either watching them compete or off the field, and that's where I think they're two really special athletes.
It's funny as well because like they both have that. I fucking hate saying the word cool because nothing sounds less cool than the word cool, but they both are cool, but they're both like in incredibly different ways. Like Laura's cool in the sort of way that like she could not give a fuck what anyone says about her or to her or anything. Like she's just so like she's just water, like just
Yeah,
and always has like a some like I remember I emailed her asking her to come on the show about like I was about a year ago, and she had been on the show before. I was like, oh, I'd love to catch up, blah, blah. And I was sitting on the couch beside my wife, and I was like, fuck, she emailed back. I was like, I wasn't expecting that. And I started reading it out loud, and I read it so enthusiastically at the start and quickly trailed off because I was like, I read what she said. I was like, hey, Peter, so great to hear from you. No. I just thought it was so funny. But like the fact that she emailed back and like had no, wasn't like, oh, I better do it or I better not say no or I look like this or I'll sound like that or whatever. Like you have to respect it. And
yeah,
it's the same, like any clips I've seen of her like in the behind the scenes that's coming up and stuff, she's just her and there's no, she doesn't pretend to be anything or whatever. And
no,
Danielle is the same. It's like they are who they are and there's no, it's easy, I think, in the sport to fall into the trap of like being like a shop window and just being like, oh, I need to sell this thing. And I
mm,
think it's clear that you've made a good choice in the two of them because they never appear to be selling. They're never like, you need to buy R.A.D shoes. R.A.D shoes are great. There's never any forced aspect to it, luckily, because that'd be fucking awkward. But
no scripts or anything. Yeah,
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 yeah.
that would be awkward.
Yeah, but it is they're a remarkable choice. Do you think is there ever are you eyeing up like expanding that? It's moving from 2 to 3 or a male athlete or something
Yeah,
else?
yeah. We'd love to have some athletes, some more athletes, and I think I don't want to speak out of turn because there's other people who are investigating, and the ink might not be dry yet on the
Oh
contract.
wow.
But I think there's a few athletes that we're
A
about to
few.
announce. Yeah,
Wow. Is that like,
Yeah,
are you going to announce them like in Miami or just in the first few
yeah.
weeks?
I think the plan is, I think it's either this week or next week.
Flip. All right. That's
Yeah,
cool.
which
And you
is
can,
really cool. As I
can you,
said, again, I'm not being secretive here. It's just
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
speak out of turn,
No,
and
that's fine. What side of the Atlantic are they based?
there are a few in
There
the
must be a
US.
shit ton. How many athletes are we talking? There's a few on this continent and a few more.
I think there's 6.
Wow.
Yeah,
God, I sounded really like Owen Wilson there.
you
Um,
did, but
wow,
it was
6.
authentic.
Yeah.
That was a cool wow.
Not forced.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay, so 6. Geez, that's a big jump. I was like, oh, maybe they'll bring one more in this year. 6 that's major. That's really cool.
yeah. I think so. I think last year was, and this is another bit of the reflecting I've done. Year one was this moment where we tried to, I say we, like there was loads of us. It was basically me and another person, where I tried to put the previous 3 years of work into practice, I suppose,
Yeah.
and just navigate the year and not get through it like it was a chore, but it was really 100 miles an hour, just kind of see what happens. And then I think year two, that same mindset kind of trickled into year two, and because we had so much going on and we're such a small team, there was never the ability to really look up into the future and say, actually, what are we doing? Where are we going? Because there
Mm.
was always a fire to fight over here or a crisis to solve over here. And so I think towards the end of last year, we managed to get some amazing people into the business to kind of help ease the load across the team. And what that really enabled me to do was kind of take a step back and go, okay, like what are we trying to do as a brand? What are we trying to do as a company? And a big part of who we are is the people, both within the team, but also the athletes that we want to support. And so last year, I didn't feel we were in a good space more than anything in my head to be able to go, okay, we really want to partner with these people, and these are the reasons why.
Yeah.
And in the last few months, having that headspace has enabled me to go, actually, I'd love to support this person, this person, this person, and these are the reasons why. And I think to your point about Laura and Danielle is we always want to pick people who have something to say, because they're then real and they're not going to be this robot that is like, buy R.A.D shoes, they are the best. It's like, actually, they might be talking about something political, or they might be wanting to support a charity, or they're doing something amazing within their community. I think that's uh, as important as how they perform on the competition floor.
Mm.
Um, and I think that was a big kind of reflection point for me, was the people that we choose to support are or do represent who we want to be as a brand. And so we had to grow our athlete roster,
But it's
because
funny though as well because like so there's a lot of companies that are struggling in that respect. There's a lot of there's a lot of companies that are pulling back and that are like canceling athlete contracts or not renewing athlete contracts. Like I don't want to name names, but like like Noble are essentially gone from the space. I think they're keeping like one or two. Wit seem to have lost a lot of their athletes. There's a lot of companies that are like, maybe this isn't as lucrative as we thought it would be, or it's not coming back the way that we thought it would. So is this a sign of like your intention to support the sport that you love, or is it a sign of like you're fucking dominating at the minute and you're in a position to do it?
No, I think that's that's something that I often reflect on. Is people think we're this huge behemoth. We're still an absolute tadpole in in the grand scheme of things. And I mean, it's very flattering that people think we're massive, but we're not. We're really small, and it is about really supporting those who are competing now and who train multiple hours a day, you know, they sacrifice so much to kind of compete at the level they do. We want to be able to support them, and then we also want to be able to support the new athletes that are starting to come through into, I guess, the what's it called, like the grown-up division, for want of a better expression. Oh,
I think
there's a little hint. And so so the it's
someone in Rad HQ now is like, "Fuck's sake, Ben."
don't say that. You know, it's, I think the other thing is like, you know, the perception that brands are pulling out of the space is, I think they're probably, I have no idea about their inner workings, but I also would say, like, to have 15, 20 athletes on your roster, again, that then waters down what you're trying to say as a brand, because it's like you're supporting anyone and everyone, and then it becomes hard, I suppose, for people who want to support the brand or support an athlete to understand what you're trying to say and how you're trying to position yourself. So, you know, I don't know about Noble and what's going on there, but I think what they've done for the sport for the last 5, 6, 7 years has been phenomenal. And you know, those guys were a massive inspiration to me to start R.A.D in the first place. And you know, I hope that it's not a reflection of them in Struggle Town. It's more them going, actually, this is what we want to stand for as a brand. This is who we want to support. We feel like these guys represent us in a much more meaningful way, and so we have to kind of let some people go. But as I said, I've no idea what's going on with these different companies. And I think we always try and stay in our lane and be laser focused on what we're trying to do. Sorry, Ryan. But that's, you know, that's always been how I wanted to compete back in the day and run the company now. Is like, we don't really worry, not that we have an ego and we don't care, but we don't worry about other people are doing, because, you know, we're setting out to really focus on what we want to do. And you know, it might be some other people are going off on this other tangent and some are going off over here, but we set out a plan and we're going to execute it.
Yeah, there's a danger of becoming too reactive then as well, of like, oh shit, these are doing this, we need to do similar.
Exactly.
But it's fun. So when you're looking for, say, when you decide at the end of last year, like, all right, I want to expand or whatever, are you, oh my God, so many things are clicking in my head now where I'm like, I bet that's that person because I saw this happen like 4 months ago. Is it, are you like, all right, we really like this person, let's send them some shoes and see if they like the shoes and blah, blah. Or are you like, hey, we saw this person wearing our shoes, like they, of their own initiative, went and got the shoes. Let's talk to them and see, like, or does it matter? Is it just whatever works?
Yeah, so it's a bit of that. It's a bit of who's wearing the shoe. Let's reach out to them, see if they're interested. And then it's also then following up, having a conversation, seeing if we vibe. You know, it's like the vibe check first before anything else. And then for those that have maybe been in a contract and then that has expired and they're kind of looking for other opportunities, or they haven't been in a contract and we really like who they are and what they stand for, the first port of call is always, right, we're not going to have a conversation until you've tried the shoe and seen whether you like it. Because you get the shoe and you think it's trash. It's like, well, we don't have a bazillion other options like other brands do, where you can, like, you know, wear a pair of.
Do you like this one or do you like this one?
Yeah, what's the difference? One's red and one's blue. But you know, it's like, because our product offering is so slim, we really do have to get on with the product first and foremost, and then we kind of talk about whether we want to team up together.
It's funny because So R.A.D used to sponsor this show like about 2 years ago for about a year. And I remember for a long time I'd be saying to people like, if anyone ever asked anything about shoes, I'd be like, oh, R.A.Ds. And then it was difficult because people just assumed like, oh, but you're like paid to say that. And it's like, well, like technically yes, but like also the fact of the matter is it just is a really good shoe. And it came back. I bought another shoe recently. And I was like, right, I've only bought R.A.Ds for the last like 2 years. That's the only shoe I've bought. So I'll buy another shoe.
Yeah.
And I said, I'll just see what it's like. And then I'll see if maybe I just like all shoes. And like I don't have a type. Maybe I'm just a whore for shoes and I don't like it. I'm just a bit of a slut and I'll take anything. But like immediately, so I did like one workout, bottom of both my feet cramped. I was like, that's never happened before in R.A.Ds. And then it happened. So the next, I worked out in those shoes like 5 times, and 5 times my feet cramped. And then I realized something about R.A.Ds that I can't say about any other shoe that I've ever worn. And this isn't me. I mean, I am sucking you off a little bit, but I'm not intending to. R.A.Ds are the only shoe that I've worn. Like, I'm going to Miami now on Wednesday. I'll wear my R.A.D, like my running R.A.Ds. And I know that at no point in the airport, on the plane, the other side, will I be like, fuck, I need to take off my shoes. So the two, like the R.A.D ones and the R.A.D Or ones, are the only shoes that I've ever worn that I could wear them like 50,000 steps, no problem, sit down and not immediately want to kick them off. Or like I could sit on the couch and just like get up to go to bed, still wearing my shoes. Whereas the second I finished a workout, like 2 days ago, in the other shoes, the second I finished, I was like, get the fucking, I was like kicking them off. And I've always questioned other people doing workouts and taking their shoes off afterwards. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? It can't be that bad. But that was because I was wearing R.A.Ds and it wasn't that bad. And then I realized like, oh fuck, it's a good shoe. That's why that doesn't happen.
But that is John from Make Ones Great Again. That's his mark of whether a shoe is any good, is whether he has to kick it off after working out straight away. He's like, that's my first marker.
Yeah, no, not for me. It's like I can wear the shoes to work. I can wear them like traveling, whatever. And at no point I'll be like, oh fuck, I need to like stretch out my foot or like just feel flat ground or just like move differently. Never. So congrats. I don't know why I was telling that story, but congrats. It's a great shoe.
Well, I'll tell Tom, the designer. He'll be very
yeah. This one guy said, so there was always a thing when R.A.D started that it was, I remember when you were on from Miami that time, you were like, oh, like we're kind of talking about like a running shoe, like we're like working towards that. It's a while away yet. And it was like, I mean, you literally just launched and you were talking about this, and it didn't launch for like 18 months or something after that. Is it hard when something like that is happening and you know that it's coming and you can't actually do anything about it? You just have to wait and be like, oh, it's not right, we need to change this or whatever, and you don't want to rush it or whatever. But like, and people are asking for it, and people are saying like, when's the next, like what's different, what's coming next? Is it difficult not just be like, just shut the fuck up and wait, like it'll come when it comes, just shut up?
No, it's so funny because it's really sweet of people, but I often will get messages and they'll be like, oh, like I've got this amazing idea, I think we should do like this colorway or whatever. It's like, oh, like next drop you should do this colorway, and it'll be like, in 4 weeks time will be the next drop. It's like, I think it's not through like being stupid. I think one of the things I've really learned through the process of learning how to make shoes is like everything just takes fucking ages, right? We start coloring up shoes, like just like getting colorways sorted around 14 months before they launch.
Wow.
Developing a new silhouette in general is between 20 to 24 months.
What do you mean by a new silhouette? Like a new shape of shoe?
Yeah, like a completely new. So like if we did the second version of the training shoe, or an additional running shoe, or a trail shoe, or a skate shoe, it's 2 years from when we first start on that project to when it gets seen. And I think people just don't really have an understanding or can grasp that someone would be stupid enough to spend 2 years working on something and not and virtually have nothing to show for it. Well, that's me. Hello. And I think it's one of those old, what is it? Not a proverb or a bloody saying, is like good things come to those who wait. Like when it comes to footwear, you just have to be so patient. And I think particularly during this weird time where there's been this kind of like there's from launch or before launch, there's just been mad stuff happening with global shipping and freight.
Oh, there was that fucking ship in the Suez Canal or whatever. That
Yeah,
probably
that's
fucking,
happened, and so there's always some kind of challenge logistically that slows things down. For the longest time, it was not being able to travel to our manufacturing partners in Vietnam because they could just shut because of COVID. So what would normally be a process of spinning versions of a shoe over like a 10-day period, you might get 2 or 3 iterations, would take 4 to 6 months because you're having to do it through computer and ship it to each other with tweaks.
yeah.
So it's just like stuff like that has just meant the process has taken a lot longer. And I think because I don't know what normal is, I just think, oh, well, that's how long it takes to make a shoe. Whereas all the guys in the footwear department who have been in the game for 20, 25 years, are like, Ben, this isn't normal, just so you know. It should take us 15 to 18 months, and I'm none the wiser. So
Yeah.
I think it's just like, I never get annoyed by people saying, oh, you need to do this or bring this shoe out. I'm just like, yeah, it's in the works. And it's actually, when you do have those requests, to me, it just shows that people, I suppose, understand that we listen or think that we listen. And that's more important than anything. Like we're
Yeah.
not this kind of faceless corporation. Like I'd hope people would be like, okay, they're real people there. We can have a conversation with them, and they're trying to do their best all the time. Like
Yeah.
I think it's great that people request things.
You've also branched out. So you've brought out the runner, the running shoe, but you've also branched out. Like, so I've seen like I've seen some fucking weird people wearing rads. Like not weird, like as in some surprising people. Like Chris Hemsworth was wearing rads like
Yeah,
a few weeks
I
ago.
don't know how he got them.
That's nuts, though.
I know
You must
it's
be
true.
like, is it photoshopped?
He must have got like his hammer out and like flown somewhere and robbed them.
Yeah, that must be so cool though when you see people like that. Because even if you're not, even just the fact that someone that well known is like, oh, they're a nice shoe.
Yeah,
It's still just another person liking them, but it's still cool. And it's like, fucking hell, all right.
yeah, it's really cool. And I think it also, so like for me, there's been 2 moments where I've like, whoa, this is crazy. And they've both been when I've been traveling, because often when I see people wearing them, I feel like there's maybe a tenuous link to that person, whether it's like, we're at an event or we're, in a city near a gym or whatever it is. But when you're in the middle of nowhere or in the middle of somewhere, but you're kind of like, whoa, there's a shoe. That's kind of wild. And they've both been like, one was in an airport, and there was just like, I saw like 3 or 4 different people through the airport wearing the shoe. And I was like, this is crazy. Like, there's no way I could possibly have a link to these
Yeah.
people. So that was really cool. And then the other one was, we were visiting friends in California, and they kind of live up, they live in a place outside of San Francisco. And we were staying with them, and over the mountain is Santa Cruz. And so we like drove to Santa Cruz to go to the beach, and there was just a guy like running along the front in a pair of runners. I was like, this is crazy. Like they've been the two like standout moments for me.
It's like a crazy enhanced version of, like whatever 5-6 years ago when you saw someone wearing Metcons,
Yes,
and you'd be like, "Oh,
exactly. Yeah,
CrossFit."
yeah. You'd be like that, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
Ooh.
yeah, yeah. I wonder, are they like sitting somewhere now being like, I'm pretty sure I saw the founder of R.A.D at the airport.
Oh, actually, yeah. But this guy, yeah, a guy came up to me yesterday. He was really sweet, and I was in the bakery, and like I think he was quite shy because he like waited until I was basically leaving, and he said,
Yeah.
"Oh, I just wanted to say, like, really like your shoe," and I was like, "Oh, thanks, man." He's like, "Yeah, cool," and then like ran away. But it's just like, yeah, those are the things that are really cool. Like, of course, it's amazing someone like Chris Hemsworth's wearing the
Yeah.
shoe. It's crazy. But I think it's just like seeing people who there's no possible way that I could have a link with them. That kind of blows my mind.
It is crazy. But it must be cool as well though when you see people who like in CrossFit that aren't sponsored or that you haven't sent shoes to or that you haven't engaged with, and you see them wearing them. Like that's a nod of like, these are fucking good shoe.
Yeah, there's a nod of approval there. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think when you have like coaches wearing them
Yeah.
and people that are going to be more discerning, shall we say, and can pick any brand, that for me is the thing that is like, okay, we're doing a good thing. Because there's always self-doubt.
Now even.
Yeah, every day, constant.
Over what though? You're sure? Surely it's like pretty settled.
Yeah, but no, I think it's just the nature of never being satisfied and always wanting to improve. I think
Yeah.
that kind of athlete mindset is the one that always goes, okay, how can I improve this? How can I optimize this? What can I do to improve this element? How can I tweak this? You're always looking for that like incremental gain and
Yeah.
improvement. And I think that's the key, because I think if I ever lose that, then the company's fucked and I might as well do something else.
Does it add more pressure now that there's a team? Now that you've
Yeah.
got like what you said you have, what, like 7, is it?
Yeah, well, no, now there's close to 20.
Shit, okay.
Yes. That is It's an absolute privilege, but it is a fucking monster bit of pressure. Like, there's 20 people in the world that are relying on R.A.D being successful to be able to pay their mortgage, buy food, raise their children, go on holiday, whatever it is. It's like, whoa, okay, this is a real thing now. This isn't me in a cupboard with a funny idea. This
Yeah.
is like, but it's also something which I absolutely love, and I think the people, as I said earlier, it's all about the people that I'm with, whether they're athletes or people that work alongside me. I wouldn't change it for anything. I think you've got an amazing team who are supremely talented, and I think they really understand what we're trying to do and what we're trying to achieve, and I think that gets them excited, which then gets me excited, and it's kind of this big self-fulfilling cycle, that we all kind of drink the Kool-Aid together and and get going with work.
Yeah.
So
But
there
even
is,
like your Black Friday idea would have been a bit shit if it was just you.
yeah, me and Moses.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was. I hope people thought that was funny.
It was very funny.
Yeah.
Are those kind of concepts, those kind of, because you've done that a few times, you've done like the golden shoe thing, you've done that, like if you find a mixed match pair, like I think was there one comment or something that was like, there was definitely someone in the comments, I can't remember the comment, but there was someone in the comments that didn't get that it was like that it was deliberately being done so that
Yeah,
this was a prize for someone, that they
yeah,
were like, oh, well, if they get to, you know, how can you not organize if the right shoes? It's like, dude, it's a fucking giveaway.
it's
But
part
like,
of it, bro.
are those giveaways like, are the campaigns planned around those things? I guess the golden shoe is probably a bit different because it's like a one-off, like at the games or at Miami or whatever. But like um the colorway thing for Black Friday, was that the idea, and then the concept grew around it, or did you have the colorway and be like, what can we do with this?
Yeah, so that was actually, so in that instance, because I think when you take a moment like Black Friday, it's, you know, it's so big from a brand, in a brand's calendar, because so many companies rely on it to drive such a high portion of their revenue for the year, that to I mean, we're really fortunate that we don't have to use it in that way. And so for us, it was like, okay, well, every brand is going to be doing something. Like, we don't really need to like participate in like the mad sell everything for $5
Yeah.
thing. So let's just do something that's fun and a bit of entertainment. Um, and I think the idea was then, okay, well, what could we do from a product perspective that we could then kind of lean into having a bit of fun and goofing around, and again, kind of showing that we're real people
Yeah.
within the team. And so, yeah, in that instance, it was like, okay, we want to do a mix and mismatch shoe thing. Okay, we could do that for like one person. Actually, could we turn this into a bigger moment for Black Friday as like, something that's a little bit different? And my shorts are particularly bad in this video.
Sam is so good, isn't he?
He's amazing. Yeah, great script writing, great editing.
It's funny, already he really has such a style, where it was like 5 seconds into watching it, I was like, Sam had something to do with this. I don't know what, but he had something to do with it. And then he put up a thing and I was like, I fucking knew it.
Yeah,
But yeah, he's very good.
yeah.
I saw you posting recently on Instagram and on other places as well, I think, about people stealing shoes and like putting up like shit links to shoes. What was that about?
Oh man, that was so like the last 3 Christmases, there's been some kind of like stress or thing that has happened. So I was like, okay, maybe this will be like the last one. The first Christmas was the week. Well, it was the Christmas before we launched, and so there was that like new lockdown, and basically the US were like, if you get COVID, you can't fly to the US for 10 days and you have to retest. And I was like, fuck, if I get COVID, I might miss the launch of the brand. So I basically like quarantined, and then I flew to the US on Christmas Eve and was just like on my own for 2 weeks to launch. Then last year, a load of our shoes got like stuck just before a launch. And then this year, what we do is, throughout the year, if there's like shoes that, when we first started, because I wanted to make sure the product was of a really high level, we QC'd all of the shoes in the warehouse as well, our side. So they would get QC'd at the factory.
What does QC mean?
Sorry, QC is quality control.
Okay, yeah.
So at the factory, they'd be quality control and assessed, and then they'd be boxed up, and then we would, as a team, go and QC them in our warehouses as well. And the reason for that was
what's that? So is that process like you take it out of the box, you look at it, and like
exactly
move it around a bit or whatever?
Yeah, take out every single pair of shoes, check them over, check how we want
How
them.
big is the team when you're doing that?
So we had like 7 or 8 people each
Fucking
time.
hell.
We'd get extra hands in.
Yeah.
And we do it over a couple of days. And the main reason was because I know that as a new brand, we have a huge job to convince someone to trust us from a product perspective. You know, when you have brands like Nike and Adidas and Reebok and Noble and TYR, who are these big companies making products and who have a history of making products, you know, there's less, I suppose, barrier for someone buying a product from them because they have a history of making great product, whereas we don't have that. So I was really keen to ensure that any kind of defect, minor flaw with the product didn't go out, because I didn't want anyone to get something subpar and then be like, oh, R.A.D shit, I'm never buying from them again, and then telling one or two of their mates, because then it spreads. So what we did is we had quite a thorough QC process in place, and over that period of time, we accumulated some shoes that basically weren't fit for purpose or selling, and so we then looked at ways in which we could then, I suppose, dispose of them. Of course, this is a challenge because you don't want to just like throw them in a hole and in the ground. It's complete waste. And so we found an amazing facility in the US that takes them and distributes them in South America, Africa, developing nations, and basically provides products for people to sell in those regions. Unfortunately, we couldn't find that for the UK, and so we found this facility that would then grind up the shoe, and then they would turn it into like playground.
Oh, I know the stuff. Yeah, the
Like
kind of mats thing. Yeah.
Exactly. So we boxed them all up, sent them to this facility, got the certificate that had what had happened.
Someone saw an opportunity.
Yeah, someone saw an opportunity, took all of the shoes, well, what we think is all of the shoes, and has basically then sold them to like, discount places.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, it's mad, absolute madness.
But you're at the mercy of just like eBay or whatever then, because it's
so then you're like, you can't like speak to anyone at eBay because it's all computers. Vinted, you can't speak to anyone. Facebook, you can't speak to anyone. It's been a bit of a pain in the arse, but
yeah,
is what it is. There's not a lot we can do. They are stolen goods. If people buy them, then fair enough.
Talking about the seeing it being surprising seeing someone in an airport wearing a pair of R.A.Ds, your head would fucking explode if you're walking through like Nairobi. You see like some guy selling R.A.Ds on the side of the street. It'd be so fucking crazy.
No. Like a chef. Your chef wearing them, and then
or like one of those guys walking up and down the beach with like R.A.Ds tied around his neck, just selling them to it's crazy. You recently so there's been a lot of rumors recently about, well, they're kind of put to bed now, but there had been a lot of rumors about who was going to take over the sponsorship of the games because Noble seemed to be pulling the plug or whatever. And then, I know you say you're a small company and stuff in comparison to some, but like your name was bandied around a bit. You did nothing to quell the rumors by sitting opposite Dave Castro and like recording him or whatever that story was that was put up. Was there, like, when you do things like that and then it has a response in the general in the ecosystem, are you like, oops, or are you like, oh cool, that's funny?
Yeah, I just go, oh, that was funny. Yeah, I didn't know. Was that actually a rumor?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, it was like your name is bandied around. Yeah, like it quickly became the narrative that like it's probably going to be Go Ruck. Was like, quite fast, but there was a period of time, and it was around then when you were with Dave that people were like, oh, maybe, and like kind of pause. I think as well, a lot of it might be wishful thinking, where people were like, that would be cool.
That would be really cool. Yeah,
you kind of engaged with him early on. That was clever, I think. To kind of.
Do you know what was super cool about Dave? And I mean, I won't say he's just such I think he's one of the reasons why the sport was in such an amazing place.
Hmm.
And I think the way in which, people like get offended by his like brashness or his bravado, and it's like, he's clearly doing it to create some theater. Like, but people don't get that, do they? They like take it all at face value and think he's like deadly serious. He's like, no, I'm like creating a character because that makes the games more entertaining. Like,
Yeah.
that's his whole agenda. But yeah, he's such a cool dude, and what happened was he saw someone wearing a pair of our second launch was not our second launch, our third launch. There was a grey pair with a blue sole.
Mm-hmm.
They're called I can't remember the name. But he basically saw someone in a gym wearing them and filmed them on his phone on Instagram and went up to them and was like, "Hey, what's that?" Oh, look, there's my thumb. Was like, "Way, there's a file." He went up to them and was like, "Hey, what are those?" And they were like, "Oh, they're called R.A.D." He's like, "R.A.D? What's R.A.D?" And they were like, "Oh, it's this new footwear company." And so he tagged us on the post. And at the time, I was still the only person employed, so I was like responding to everything, and just had sent a few messages back and forth, and sent him a pair, and he really liked them, and has been like an I guess like an unofficial fan of ours from the very beginning, and it is super cool for me to then be able to meet him and have a conversation with him a few months ago. That's for a very different project that is coming in a few months' time, which I cannot wait for. We're doing a documentary about one of our athletes. And I think it's going to be like no documentary that anyone has ever seen in this space before.
One of your current athletes are
One of our
upcoming.
current
Okay.
athletes. It's an incredibly powerful story that is going to be told. And of course, we have all the fun CrossFit stuff in there, but we go through the journey so far of this person. And I tell you, I watched the like first assembly last week and cried a bunch of times.
Wow.
It's really
because it was shit.
Yeah, I was like, what are we doing? We've spent all this money. It's going to be what a waste. Yeah, it's very good. So he was gracious enough to agree to participate in that for us. So yeah, we went out and interviewed him. This was around Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
super cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Have you watched any of the behind the scenes?
I haven't. I really want. I've heard they're much like the old days.
Just pay the $20, man. It's
I'll pay
$20.
$20. I'll support.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So you can watch. So there's 3. So part 1, A and B, which Savan told me the other day on the show. The reason that it's called 1, A and B is because he was like, episode 1 is too long. We need to split it in 2. And they were like, all right, do we need to renumber all the rest? And he's like, no, just call it 1A and 1B. I thought that was very funny. So 1A and 1B and 2 are currently out, and 3 is out, I think. Oh fuck, is 3 out Sunday, or else it either came out Sunday or else it's coming out Wednesday. But 3 is like bike, like it kicks. Yeah. So if there's anyone that hasn't, including you, that hasn't paid the $20 or whatever, if you pay it now, you'll be able to binge watch like 4 episodes.
Ooh.
And then carry on next weekend with 5, 6, and so on. But I watched the bike one yesterday, and it's fucking good. Like there's lots of shit in it, like lots of good shit.
Is it like the old behind the scenes type stuff?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So it's like the first like 2, not a lot happens. I was watching it with my wife. It's coming out Wednesday. This guy would know, he's editing it. If you don't know Will, he's like incredibly gifted, like crazy good.
He looks very handsome too.
He is very handsome. He is editing it, yeah, and it's like so it's I was watching it with my wife the other day, and we watched like 1A, 1B, and 2, and she she goes, "This is shit. Like, what's like nothing's happened yet?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And she said, "Nothing's happened yet." And I said, "Yeah, well, it hasn't started yet." And she said, "You were fucking 3 episodes in. Like, when is it going to?" She said, "There's only 6 episodes. Like, I'm not going to see anything." And I said, "No, there's 15." And she was like, "Oh, right, okay, yeah, that's fine."
Whoa.
But she started watching. So she watched the third one with me yesterday, and she was like, "All right, that was really good." Like she
Oh,
was like she burst out laughing like 2 times. And she generally doesn't really laugh out loud at stuff, especially things I say.
ever.
um, but she burst out laughing a couple of times, and I can tell as well. I can tell that she's starting to like Savan. Like I can tell that she's
Yeah,
like starting to kind of come around a bit. But there's loads of really cool bits, like little bits with Dave and little bits, like those kind of little
awesome.
interactions and stuff that are cool. One of the things that Dave says to him actually at one point, which I'll bring back to you now, is he turns around in the buggy and he says like, there's like a thing of like over branding yourself. And he's like, you're wearing like, you've got CEO hat, CEO top, CEO whatever. Are you ever conscious of that with R.A.D, that like now that you make shoes and clothes, that it's like, well, I've got all this stuff around, I just wear it all the time, but then it's just like you're wallpapered in like R.A.D.
Yeah, I am very conscious of that, and I'm wearing a different brand. I've got an Arc'teryx hat on here.
Oh wow!
You see, yeah,
It's funny. I actually assumed that was R.A.D and just couldn't
Oh,
see the
did
logo.
you? Couldn't have said anything. People might have been like, "Oh, there's a beanie coming out." No, I am actually really conscious of that, and I think one of the things, again, going back to that cool word, is I think the thing that is cool and that I want us to be able to do is for people to integrate our apparel, our footwear into everything else they wear. So if they're buying from another brand, let's say, LSKD, for instance, good sponsors of the show. If they're buying from them, I want, them to be able to buy their leggings or whatever it is, and then wear our hoodie and our shoes or our socks and their tops or whatever it is.
Chris, funnily enough, Chris Hemsworth was wearing LSKD the other day as well, so he's obviously taking note of that.
There you go. He's taking note. Mix the brands up. I think, and this is going to sound like I'm blowing my own trumpet here, but one of the things when it comes to like how we manufacture our products and the materials we use and the process we go through, like because we have a consideration of our impact on the planet, like I know where all the cotton for this hoodie has come from.
Yeah.
It's like those things, and I know it was made in a factory that pays fair wages, and there's healthcare, and everyone's over the age of 18, and all those kind of things. So it's like wearing the products we make, I feel there's a pride to that as well. But I do also go, man, you look like a fucking dickhead today. You've got way too much R.A.D on.
Because I feel like a twat if I wear like a t-shirt belonging to myself. I'm like, oh, please don't let anybody ask. Like, hey, what's that? Like, yeah, what's that t-shirt? Nothing. I'll just take it off and throw it away. It's nothing. Don't worry about it.
This is a podcast.
There is actually a really good bit in one of the behind the scenes where Dave is asking Danielle where like the R.A.Ds that she has. He's like, no, they never sent me those. I like those. And then and he's like, oh, I'll take yours and I'll just sell them on eBay. It's pretty funny. And then Barry is asking, is my wife in the chat? No, she doesn't watch this shit. The last episode my wife watched or listened to was BKG in 2020, I think, was the last episode. There was something else that I was going to bring up there. Fuck, I can't. Oh, yeah. Barry also asked, can we bring back the black red Jordan? So I know that one of the things with R.A.D is, say his name out loud, actually, Ben. You'll like this.
Harry McCockiner. Stop it. Stop it. He's on a wind-up. Surely Baz is on a wind-up.
Oh, he is, yeah. There's as far as like no repeats, no, never rerun a colorway. Do you think a time will come where like in 3 years time you'll just be like, oh, let's just start at the beginning and just do all of them again, because now
Yeah, but we
Would you
might
ever do
do.
something like that, or ever do like, oh, that was a really great one that people love, let's bring that back as a surprise? Or
Yeah, but we might be on like V2 or V3 by then.
yeah,
I think, and I think this is the thing: is like more established brands that have a history, they can lean into their heritage and they can go, "Hey, look, here's a shoe that we made 10 years ago, and it's kind of retroed and brought back." I think
yeah,
that's definitely an ambition of ours because I think more than anything, people love nostalgia and they love reflecting on the past because it evokes emotion and memories. And so I definitely think we'll do that. There'll be a time and a place where we think, oh yeah, let's fucking do it.
yeah. I still have my. I say it's like they're ancient, but I still have my Daniel Brandon Rads from Miami last year. Um,
True.
the thing I like, and I have the white pair of R1s. And the thing I like about them is like when you get them and put them on, you're like, holy shit. Those fucking rads were ruined when I came home from Miami. Like with just people standing on, or me standing on my own foot when I'm standing still and stuff, like just dust. The white ones, I wore the white ones to, I don't know, was it Madrid? I think it was Madrid.
Or they
Never
track.
been the same since. Oh, they're absolutely fucking ruined. And then I put them, I had a white jumper. I think it's an LSKD jumper, and I had like a little pink strip on each shoulder, and it got stained. And I was like, I'll put them both in with fucking,
Shoot.
Daz powder or
Oh yeah.
whatever. So now my white rads are like kind of got a weird pink hue, but not,
Hey,
yeah, but like not in a good way. It's like
that sounds sick.
it just looks weird. Like
Oh,
it doesn't look like, I'm
no.
describing it. It looks like a mess. So yeah, you mentioned there version 2, version 3. Is that something that are you like? Is that actively in process of like
Yes.
new version of both shoes or different shoes or?
Yeah, different both shoes, different shoes. Yeah,
Earlier on at the start you mentioned like trail running and you mentioned skate shoes. Are they kind of things that you're looking at?
yeah, they're in the works as well.
Because you have like a BMX racer, don't you, and a like a skateboarder that you're kind of in touch with and that wears your stuff.
Yeah, so we have a skateboarder who's he is one of the coolest human beings I think I've ever met.
Wow.
Because he's just this soul who is just has no agenda, is completely open, is genuinely interested in connecting with all walks of life. He's called Manny, and he's also one of the world's best skateboarders. Yeah, we're doing bits with him, and the thing that's really interesting, we're going to do a little documentary piece on him. But the thing that's really cool about Manny is up until I think it was 5 years ago or 6 years ago, he was that like stereotypical thrasher skater kid, get fucked up, booze, drugs, just go on it. And then one day he was like, man, like boozing and drugs are fun, but the thing I love the most is skateboarding. And I just want to be able to do that for as long as I can. So he's like, well, how do I do that? Like, I need to stop boozing. So he's like teetotal. I'm like not doing drugs. He's like, I need to like. He was really struggling with like pain in his knees through like inflammation. He's like, right, I'm going vegan. He's like, I need to start training. So he has like this strict like training regime. Eats really well, meditates, and I think that's kind of a reflection of the positioning of R.A.D is, yes, we've started in the training space, but ultimately we want to be occupying those kind of lifestyle sports and those action sports, in that people train now to pursue those sports for longer, whether they want to skate for longer, surf for longer, ski for longer. Like there's this.
Swimming, flippers, rad flippers.
Yes, thank you, Sam. We will be making some swimming trunks. I think they might be releasing next week, actually, or this week, end of this week. Yes.
Buy a pair of swimming trunks and get a free pair of shoes.
Yeah, something like that.
Um,
So yeah,
Speaking of, I just want to bring up. So you actually have a lot of stuff going on next week. Funnily enough, So you're going to Miami,
Yeah.
and you're setting up East Flagler. It's essentially basically across the road from where Wadapalooza is on. Is that correct?
Yes. And there's a nice street. So where Flagler stage is, over the road continues Flagler, East Flagler. And there's a pedestrianised street. We're going to be on that street.
Cool.
With a store. Come down, hang out. We've got some cool colorways. We've got some product that you can only get there. The most exciting thing is I got to show you this.
Oh,
You might not be able to see this on my telephone. Where is this? Can you see this?
oh, what's that? Oh, wow!
It's a printer in a gun.
Whoa! Do that again.
Where's my reflection?
Wow, that is amazing.
So people will be able to customize their tees and stuff like that in the store, which is going to be pretty sweet. You'll be able to do it yourself. There'll be lots of different logos that people can put up.
Will likes that you said telephone and not
Telephone.
just cell phone or phone.
Cell phone. Sorry, yeah, cell phone.
Will also said, I'm never going to be able to find it. But he also said in the comments earlier on that if voice ringtones were still a thing, he'd use my wow from earlier on. I can't find it.
I agree.
So you're also doing, I saw Danielle put up on her stories earlier on that she is going to, where are we? Down here somewhere Saturday, I think, this Peak 360.
Yeah.
So she's going to be at that on Saturday.
Yeah.
And you're doing a lot of run clubs.
So on Thursday and Friday now. Did you know that?
Well, is she?
Yeah.
You certain of that?
I'm not 100% certain.
Okay, because I also think she is. But I'm not 100. I think she thinks she is, and I think she is, and you think she is.
Should we not start the rumor?
I mean, fuck it, she is. I mean, they're not going to say no to Danielle. I heard she is.
But she doesn't have a spot.
I think it's just tricky. Yeah, I think it's tricky. But I'm sure she will be. I wouldn't say no.
Is it because she's rad?
Probably. I think. No, I think it's I actually don't know, to be honest. But I know Maureen Choco put up a thing earlier on saying, oh, it's official. She's on the leaderboard now. Eat dick, chalk up. Maureen Choco put up a thing earlier on and said, she's on the leaderboard as of 10 minutes ago. Okay. Maureen Choco put up a thing earlier on and said, with their female listing, and I commented on it and I said, you left out Danielle. And then a few people were like, oh, actually, she's not competing. So yeah, eat dick, everyone. All right, so I'm so gracious. You've partnered with Garmin and Pliability for a couple of things. So Garmin, obviously, that makes sense. The run club. Pliability obviously makes sense because Go weren't available, I suppose. And you're going to Peak 360. You're going through Winwood, and you're going to Downtown Strength. So they're the three they're the three that I know of.
Yeah.
So they're the three big hubs.
And the really cool thing about them all is, we just have this kind of natural relationship that we've built with those there.
Didn't you do something with Peak 360 with Guido? And was that the Open last year or something last year?
Yeah, last year I went on Guido's podcast, which was super cool. And then they actually did an internal throwdown towards the end of last year that we helped support. So just kind of, and have always been amazing. Well, Guido's always been amazing to us ever since we showed up at Wadapalooza first year. Who's kind of a big supporter of ours. So it's great to be able to kind of show them a little bit of love and, hook the coaches up with some shoes and hang out, just meet more amazing people. And I think one of the things is just something made me think that behind the scenes is kind of going back to like that old school way. At the weekend, we did this throwdown in Manchester, and it was so cool because it had like all the energy that I remember of when a group of people just come together and try and better themselves. And it was great because there was loads of people that had done it before, and they were like, fuck yeah, like that's exactly how I remember it. And then there were a load of new people that were like, whoa, like I've never been to anything like that before. But someone described it as it was like all the energy of a competition without the pressure, which I thought was like such a good way. It's like everyone's just there. No one's secretly going, oh, I fucking hope this guy fails this lift. Everyone's just like, oh yeah, just do what you can.
And that was your sling and send, and you're doing a few of those, aren't you?
Yeah, we're doing them a few in London. Sorry, a few in the UK over the next few weeks. The next one is in London. One of our new athletes is going to be showing up to that, which would be cool. Oh yeah, that was Steve.
Steve missing his lift.
Just missed the PR on his lift.
64 years old, crazy.
165.
Wow. Sorry, I cut across you there. So one of the you're doing one in London, and one of your new athletes is going to be at the one in London.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so she's going to fly over for that one, is she?
Fuck.
Okay, that was worth it. It was worth the punt. Oh fuck. Okay. Well, who the fuck could that be then? Oh, I'm gonna get lost in the weeds if I start doing that. I wanted to show you this as well, just while we're on the whole Wodapalooza thing. Have you seen this? Have you seen Heat 1?
Whoa.
So it's like a fantasy game, right?
Oh, and you can bet.
You do your roster. So there's no gambling yet, but I think that might be in the works. So it gives you all the workouts you pick. So you can pick like your top 10 overall, male and female, male team, female team. And then you can also, the shot caller is like, all right, Roman's going to win this workout. And you pick him to win it. And then you pick a female to win it.
That's sick.
And you can set up, so like you can set up a R.A.D league and just have all the employees of R.A.D and be like, right, whoever wins this gets like 2 weeks off.
That's sick.
It's really cool, yeah. So that's
2 hours off.
So that's going to be a big. They're doing a big launch now at Wodapalooza.
That's cool.
And they're doing so on the whatever, I'm trying to think of the word, the live stream. And there's going to be like little graphics coming up of like who's the top pick for the.
For that event.
Yeah, what fans or who are they picking for it, or like who's, what percentage of people are picking whoever.
That's cool.
So when you're watching the live stream, so if you, anyone that's watching wants to follow Heat 1 app, and you can download it. So it's an app you can download it in the App Store, or if you're a dumbass, you can download it in the Google Play Store. So you're flying over. So you're going to go to Oregon, and then you're going to Miami from there, and you're on East Flagler. You're going to have pedestrianized area. You're going to have shoes, exclusive colorways to Miami. Is that accurate?
We've got shoes aren't exclusive; they're early release, but we've got exclusive tees to Miami.
And are you doing? Is there going to be another like Daniel Brandon Day, or is that?
There will.
Is that a Miami? Is that a Miami thing, or a?
There will be another Daniel Brandon Day
in Miami.
Not in Miami.
All right. Okay. Okay. And then I wanted to just bring up this. I wanted to talk about this now. How do I? So you put your name coming in here. You put your name as Band Ben. When you were told, so the story is that you well, you tell me the story.
The story is that we weren't allowed to have a booth at Wodapalooza this year. And the reason for that is because the title sponsor is putting down a fuckload of money, and they need to protect their investment. So unfortunately, we weren't allowed to attend. And I think, I've reflected on this a lot. I think it was a shame for us, but I also understand why they did it. You know, we're not in a position to be able to support something like Wadapalooza to the extent they can. So fair play. I think the thing that was a shame was just the way it went down. It wasn't like a forthcoming thing. It had to be like teased out over a period of time, which then kind of put us in this spin of like being like, okay, well, what are we going to do? But I've kind of further reflected on it, and it's like the thing that I keep saying is like, it's not the object that matters, it's the idea. Like the idea that we stand for, you know, what we tried to do with R.A.D is like bigger than just our product. And so I feel like, you know, you can stop us showing up with a shoe, but, you know, you can't kill the idea. And so we're just going to keep marching on, and we'll always find a way to do something and show up. And I think it's also challenged us to think outside of what would have been quite a comfortable, easy thing for us to do. And I think we've actually ended up in a better place. So thank you, BYR, for the banning.
Do you say TYR?
That's what they're called, aren't they?
I actually don't know. Like I have never been less confident about a company's name. Like I've heard tier, tire, TYR, and tur. But I don't know if that's all people mispronounce. Tier, that's not like tier is one I've heard.
Oh, tier. Sorry.
And then tear. Now I would read that as tear, not tier. That's just mocking me for the way I say third. So like, could you have set up a stall and sold like I know it would be stupid, like, but could you have set up a stall and sold like t-shirts and socks? But
Yeah.
then
So
what would you do with your shoes? You'd have to have shoes somewhere else anyway.
Originally, it was suggested that we could go, but we couldn't sell shoes, which is tricky when our kind of only product is shoes.
Yeah.
And then it was suggested that it was probably best we didn't attend.
Okay.
So here we are.
So you need to change your name to suggested that I couldn't attend, Ben.
Yes. Yes.
Well, look, I've no doubt that you'll make it. It's one of the things, like, you know, I kind of opened with it talking about being cool and stuff, but it's one of the things that, like, it's so easy to get it wrong. It's so hard to get it right. But you have this, you've obviously built a remarkable team around you. Like, I like Ryan. He's probably the only one I've actually really engaged with, so I can't speak to any of the rest of them. The rest of them are probably assholes. But like, you have this team around you that's just, everybody seems to know like exactly what they're doing and what the purpose of what they're doing is. Even like bringing on Adam Klink as well. Like, from what I know about him, he's very like, he's obviously very driven in his own pursuits of fitness and like performance and stuff with the crazy shit that he does. But like, he's also very driven, and he's done huge work in the past with like community and like developing that kind of stuff. But then you've gone kind of off piste with the media companies you've hired, and you've done things a different way with like the R.A.D tapes, and it's just, everything's just like a little bit off color or something. It's just a little bit kind of outside the lines. But like, it's truly remarkable. And I think it speaks volumes that last year it was so hard to get a pair of shoes in Miami because there was always so many people around. Like, I think that's a testament to the company, the fact that like there is a clamor to have people just want to be there, and people want to be around the brand, and they want to wear it, they want to be seen with it, they want to be seen with the athletes that wear it. So I know maybe a couple of years ago you might have been a bit like, fuck, I hope this goes well, but like, what you've accomplished and what the company has accomplished is astonishing in such a short period of time. Like, it's crazy impressive. Good luck with Miami.
Thank you.
Good luck with your.
There?
I think I get in Wednesday evening.
Okay, I get there Saturday morning.
Jeepers, you're cutting it tight.
I know. Saturday night.
That's Gabe from Paper Street. He's a good dude.
Saturday night, we're gonna have a little knees up and some pizzas. in the store if you want to come down, hang out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'll ask my roommate.
Yeah, ask your roommate. Easiest thing.
That sounds cool. Yeah, and actually, I'm not gonna be able to find it now, but I still have the little. I didn't go because I'm an introvert, but I still
Ah,
have the little yellow
you've got the little
arcade coin
token.
thing. Yeah, from last.
Nice.
Oh, Sam didn't buy his from you. He bought it from Facebook Marketplace. I'm actually bidding on a pair on eBay right now.
Good.
Yeah,
Let me
25
know how
pounds.
faulty they are.
My foot fell off. So yeah, best look at everything. So East Flagler at the weekend, and you can go. There's different. So there's a run on the 10th in the evening. There's shit on basically every day in all different places. So if you go to rad-global.com, and you can find the itinerary there. And if you just follow along on Instagram, I suppose,
Yeah.
you'll have a lot of stuff up there. So thanks. It was great getting to catch up with you. Thanks very much
Yeah, I
for that.
loved
That was
it.
great.
Always a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
All the best. I'll just end this now.